do you hold the line on commissions and fend off discounters? Please welcome Sally Forster-Jones with John Arrow International Luxury Properties and Stephen Shapiro with Westside Estate Agency to answer that very question.
Want to dance?
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah. Hey!
I don't know how to dance.
I don't know how to dance either. That'll be really good.
I don't do
yeah.
it.
I know how to dance.
Hi. Waging war on discounters. This is going to be a really good talk, right?
It sure is.
In luxury, there are no discounters. That's how I feel about it. Sally, by the way, you look very beautiful.
Thank you. You
Please
too.
tell us how you wage war. What are your tips for waging war on discounters?
Okay. The most important thing is really know your value statement, who you are, what you bring to the table, why you are different, what makes you stand out, and how you are going to create more value for your seller. And that's what they really want to know. They want to know what is, or you have to tell them that they want to know, what it is that they're going to wind up with at the end, how you are going to get there. And so it's know your value statement, own it, and then be able to articulate it, and then the discount goes away.
Yeah, exactly. The discount goes away if you're able to say, this is why I'm worth X. Right? So we look at law firms, we look at accounting firms, we look at all other service businesses, and the senior people, as you said in one of our calls, right, they get $1,500 an hour. The junior people get $400 an hour. In our business, the senior people they're trying to put us out to pasture, and the junior people are getting the same commission rate as anyone else. How do you argue with someone when you're telling them, this is what I need, this is why it's good for you?
Well, at the end of the day, it's not necessarily the commission that sells the house, it's the price that sells the house. Mm-hmm. So for somebody to negotiate a commission at the beginning, when they don't know what they're going to get at the end, is kind of what they think they're supposed to do. And your job is to explain to them that you're at this level, and maybe other people they're meeting with are at this level and don't have the background or experience, and you have to tell them what you're going to do to earn that commission. And sometimes you say no, you don't take the deal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's half is not always better than none.
No.
Because what happens is most of my business comes from referrals. So if I discount a commission, then that person's going to refer somebody and say, hey, Shapiro took this at 4.5%.
Right.
So
then you're permanently at 4.5%.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it's a very good point. And Sally, tell us a story about someone who really was forcing you to cut a commission and you refused to give in and you got the whole commission in the end.
Well, I was going to tell you first on, just going back
Go.
to what we're talking about there. I went on a listing appointment yesterday afternoon. I was paying particular attention because I knew I was going to be speaking today. And so here I go in, and there's only two questions. Hi, how are you? What's my house worth? And what's your commission?
Right.
That was the only thing they were interested. So, just first thing was really, I'm going to tell you that, and I go into my whole thing on what am I going to do? What is important to you? Is the experience important to you? Is the price important to you? Do you want the high, there's always a range in price. Would you rather have the higher range or the lower range? There's what, and went through in detail for an hour and a half on what I am specifically going to do, not in generalities, but specifically, what's going on with this house? And ultimately, we got to the range of 7 million to 9 million. So it's like, would you rather sell it for 7 million or would you rather sell it for 9 million? And obviously, he'd rather sell it for 9, and this is what we're going to do to get to 9. And, and there's really a process. I mean, we really do. As brokers now, things have changed. What we do is really much more full service on how to create that value for them. What are we going to do? Are we going to help them? I have on my team, I have a designer. I really do. I have, I work with the with the sellers on, before and after. What does the property look like before? What is it going to look like after? How is that really going to create value for them? So I demonstrate that. So then the difference between $7 million and $9 million, $2 million, the difference in my commission is insignificant. It is meaningless. So it's really that it's just really, by the time we got to value, which took an hour and a half, and by the time we got to commission, he asked me, the commission was not even a discussion. There was nothing. It was, what's the difference between 1% of $9 million, or 90,000 versus $2 million? So it's really going through that process.
So you're framing it for them so that they understand the big picture versus just a small question that they asked you can answer in 30 seconds.
Yeah. So.
But it's back to the way the business works now. I've been doing this for 40 years, and despite technology and everything else, the business is the same. In the high end, you're showing a house, you're assessing whether somebody's interested in a house, then you're trying to put a deal together. But new people coming into the business today that just get their license, they don't want to establish a foundation for their business. They want to start at $5 million or at $10 million. And they're more likely to go in and think that they're going to get a listing by saying, I'll do it at 4%.
Right.
So you go and meet with that person and they say, Dolly will do it at 4%.
No, she won't.
And I say, give it to Dolly.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for. In every area of life, you get what you pay for. And at the end of the day, those people that negotiate commissions down probably don't know how to negotiate.
No,
and that's what we do at the end of the day. We negotiate.
And that's a great response, right? So when I'm presented with this, I also say, well, if they offered you 4%, imagine what they're going to do with your sales price. Then they'll be giving that away too, right? It's so true.
I always say, I'm sure if you look hard enough, you'll find somebody to take it for 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep looking.
Yeah, exactly. You won't sell your house, but
Right.
yeah, exactly.
And not only on that negotiation process, there's just pointing out to the seller, you're negotiating when you have the property up for sale. You've created whatever you're going to create, and you're going to get an offer. So your first negotiations is with the broker before they write the offer. So the first thing is you are already negotiating and trying to get them up. The second is, just really going through the actual negotiations. The third is you're negotiating a request for repair. The fourth is if the appraisal comes in wrong, you're renegotiating again. You have a lot of negotiations. And if you can't negotiate your way through that whole thing, you are going to, as a seller, you're going to lose money at every step of the way.
Sally, are you saying that it's not the way it is on $1 Million Listing? where you shake hands and turn over the keys?
And it's done,
and there's none of that?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
And by the way, if sellers watch that, they think our job is easy.
Yeah.
And they think, why should we pay you that money when you make a couple of phone calls, shake a hand, and the deal is done?
Right.
So these are things you have to overcome.
I mean, and then you have to say, would you hire those guys? Is that who you want in your house showing it? I don't know. And then it's a good match or not.
Yeah, but I think for everyone also, it's coming up with what your value is. Everyone's not going to have the same value statements. And understand what the seller really is looking for, taking the time to listen, pay attention, not jump into your generic pitch, but what does the seller really want? Have they gone through this experience before and had a bad one? Have they, what are you going to do for them? And for each, I'm going to do, I have my thing, and I sell a lot of real estate, and I have a lot of things, so I have things to fall back. If you're newer, you may have a different value statement. You are, whatever it is, you're going to work harder. You're going to be there day and night. You can come up with whatever your value statement is, but that you are there and you're going to provide value to them and get more money for them in the end.
And that's a good point on a new broker. So anyone here who is new to, let's say, luxury, who's looking to break into luxury, it's a good point. Your value statement may not be, well, gee, I sold all these $30 million houses, but gee, I'm willing to kill myself to get this done. I'm willing to have this be my only big listing, work day and night, call everyone. So everybody's value statement is different. You have to figure out what yours is, what the owner wants to hear, and how you can add value to that listing. I think that's really what it's about.
I have a theory as to how all this started.
Oh, God.
Because I've been in it for so long. And for years, and still in some areas of the country, the commission split between the agent and the broker is 50-50, and it was 50-50. Then when conglomerates started coming in and offering agents 60, 70, 80, 85%.
90.
Instead, well, I don't want to hear anybody say that.
Oh, okay.
Because I own a company.
Yeah.
There's no 90.
Yeah.
What the agents did, instead of realizing this is a great opportunity for me to make more money, they said, well, I can now charge less and make the same amount of money as I made with my lower commission split.
No, exactly.
And that's what happened. That's where it started to erode.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
They didn't have the same incentives. And I think also one of the things I find is I'm always telling a seller, listen, you want us to have aligned interests about everything. So we have to start here at the right point. If down the road we feel something is not going right, and we'll adjust it. But right now, we have to have aligned interests. Don't you find that that's always the key thing to me?
You have to have a relationship.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
if
To
you don't
aligned
have a
interests.
relationship, what I do and what I tell my salespeople to do is spend time with the client. Become a friend. If they like you and you like them and you want to spend an hour or 2 hours, they're going to be more inclined to work with you than the person that runs in, runs out, has another appointment and doesn't spend the time with them.
Right, because they're going to think they're not going to spend the entire time of the listing.
Right.
So tell me a nightmare story and how you overcame it.
Every deal is a nightmare. Again, after 40 years and billions of dollars of sales, I don't remember an easy sale.
No, I don't either.
don't remember an easy sale. But our job is to make it easy for the parties. I have a $10 million deal in Malibu, and in Malibu, you're on septic tanks, and the seller must provide from the city of Malibu, from the city of Malibu, an operating permit. So one septic inspector came out and he looked at it and he said, "This is crazy. I don't want anything to do with this." So we called another septic operator without even the seller knowing about it. And that septic operator came out and said, "Just needs to be pumped. I'll get the permit from the city." So you eliminate the dilemmas
Through
from
experience,
the
because you know these things come up, so it's overcoming the challenges that are
seller.
constantly thrown on you.
Our
Yeah.
whole life as salespeople should be overcoming objections. And the more experienced you are in the business, I don't know of any objections that I can't overcome or that I haven't heard.
Except for cutting commission.
I can
Yeah,
overcome that
yeah.
because I don't have to take the listing.
You see, exactly, yeah.
And back to your original point of other professions with lawyers at $1,500 and $400, just think if you had a criminal action and, well, this goes to sharing listings, which I'm not a fan of, because if you're sharing a listing, each of your companies is putting in their full marketing effort and you're getting half the price. But in any other profession, if you have this civil action and you have two good lawyers, they're not working each for half price. They're working each for full price.
That's an amazing point.
So it seems to me that sharing a listing is cutting a commission, because now, let's say the listing was 5%, you're at 2.5% now, or 1.25% if you're cooperating with another broker. And if you take it for 4, you're down to 1. I went on a listing once where there were 6 brokers that wanted to share the listing. Six different people, and I'm sitting at a dining room table, and I said, I'm willing to do it if the listing side each gets 1.5%. He said, well, there's 6 of you here.
Right.
I said, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You want to hire more.
He said, are you serious? You won't split 2.5% 6 ways? I said, no. I said, thank you, goodbye.
Yeah.
And the other 5 did it.
Wow.
And
really?
didn't sell the house. Look, you only have time. So if you spend your time inefficiently, with something that's not going to result in money to you, you've wasted your time. You can't get that back.
And you can't get paid.
You can't get paid.
Right. And that's the only way we get paid. Our time is our only asset in our business, so we really have to know how we're deploying that. Where are we spending that time?
Yeah, you have to pick and choose.
What's your worst nightmare story? We don't have much time or any
okay.
time.
Well, I was going to just
Quickie
say.
nightmare
It's like
story.
a presidential
I know,
debate.
yeah.
I was going to just.
But they all went over.
Yeah.
Yes, I know,
I'm
yes.
going to just make it fast on one thing, is I go in, last year we did 184 transactions. I go in and I go for 6% almost every single time. And I go there and I'll take some of the people on my team and I sit there and go through the entire value statement, what we're going to do. And then it comes to commission, I say 6%, 3.5% for all, and for only 3.5%, we're going to do everything and give 2.5% to the outside broker, cooperating broker. And they sit there and they watch, and the seller signs on the dotted line without a question. So part of it is you have to ask. You have to believe and ask, because if you don't ask, you don't get it.
Right.
Okay, so I went through I had a celebrity client, celebrity seller who called me. I went through my entire spiel of 2 hours on everything I'm going to be doing, and on. And then the question was, he said to me, he says, and then he asked me, and what are you going to be paying me for me to give you the listing? And I was like, okay. And so the answer was, no, that it doesn't work that way. But I did not overcome that. I mean, I was able to walk away and not invest any of my time or energy or money into a situation.
But somebody else
the
paid
power.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody else paid
Someone
that.
else paid and took that listing.
Yeah. And walking away can be the winning solution,
Yep.
right? You have to know.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. It was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Negotiation.
Yeah.